Hey everyone, this is Arnold98 and we're back with another LEGO Star Wars alternate build. Here is a Lucrehulk-class battleship, or the droid control ship, made with using the parts from the 75394 Imperial Star Destroyer. And only one copy of the set is needed to build this, and if you want to build it yourself, there's a link to my Rubricable page in the description below. And if you haven't known, this is my third alternate build using the Imperial Star Destroyer set. My other two are the Venator, which I made a video for recently, and the Acclimator, which I unfortunately did not make a video for. And it's funny how these three are all prequel era ships, and they have a plain gray version and a version with markings. And I'd love to see someone add the dark blue to this to make it the Separatist version we see in the Clone Wars and Revenge of the Sith. And yes, of course, everything you see here can be built with just one copy of the Imperial Star Destroyer set, and no extra parts required. But this build would greatly benefit if you had a bunch of battle droids lying around. Even I'm surprised this alternate build is possible. I started this build about a month ago after I took apart the Venator, and I had an idea for a Technic frame that could make a vaguely ring-like structure, and I'm glad everything here worked out. And I briefly considered adding extra sets to add some more parts I could use, but I'm glad everything here can be done with just one copy of the Imperial Star Destroyer. And I think I've used up my reality bending skills, so I think this is probably my last alternate build from this set, as I feel like I've run out of ideas that I found really interesting. And this by far is the most interesting build I've made for LEGO Star Wars, engineering wise. And spinning this build around, you can see my turntable is kind of having trouble supporting the weight of this build, but I really like the design of the ship. It's really unique and I love the rounded shapes. And it's been featured quite prominently in a lot of Star Wars media, like The Phantom Menace, later in the Clone Wars and Revenge of the Sith, and also the Angry Birds Star Wars game. And yeah, it's a shame it hasn't gotten a set outside of a small advent calendar build, so this is something I really wanted to do. And it was a crazy challenge trying to turn the angular Star Destroyer parts into something vaguely round. And I think I did a good job. As you see towards the back with the engines, one thing that really convinced me to do this alt build was the positions of the engines on the ship are exactly the same as the Imperial Star Destroyer, basically. And let's start with the features. First of all, you have this communication tower, which is conveniently the handle here. It was a huge challenge to get all the Technic to run through the entire thing to keep it stable. However, I wouldn't hold it by this handle for long periods of time or hang this from the ceiling. So it's I would rather just support the bottom with my hand too. And if you're curious what the bottom looks like, it's basically just a bunch of panels and structures. It's kind of ugly, but at least everything is mostly covered up. Unfortunately, it might be a little tricky to try to mount a stand onto this thing, and this build is most stable when it's on flat ground. And coming up to the back, communication towers. This was really fun to build, and the last part I finished. There's a little radar dish that can rotate. I really wish I had a bigger dish. This is kind of small. And some smaller cannons. And of course, there are some spring-loaded shooters kind of disguised in here. And if you don't like the look, you can of course take them out, but I just wanted some playability. And you can see the front with all the claws and the open hangar bays, which are pretty iconic. And as an added bonus, if you tilt the ship, you get a mini droid landing craft here, micro scale basically. As soon as I saw the two tiles in the set in tan, I knew I had to make this. And it's a cool little bonus, and if you don't want it out, it goes back in either side of the hangars like that. And there's plenty of space in the interior. Everything here just opens up, kind of like the Playscale Millennium Falcons. And there's tons of panels here. And of course the back one opens pretty well here. And there's a front area here too. Now let's take a look at everything. And you can see where the landing craft kind of stows away. There's a little notch where it fits into. And over here, here's a little bed here. You can fill this up with battle droids and they're like in their folded up state, and kind of just put them here. Unfortunately, they don't come with the set. And then coming over here, there's a little command area, and then some storage crates, because this ship is also like a big cargo ship. And this side is also the same, the little port for the droid control ship, as well as room for the battle droids. And also this area is a little bit different. There's a little spot where you can put some tools and spring-loaded shooters, and they go back into here. And this front section is supposed to represent the bridge and the core of the ship. And you see some consoles and a seat there. And coming back here, there's also some seats here. And this section you can actually just pull out and remove. And this is supposed to represent the little conference room that Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon are in The Phantom Menace. It's very loosely based off that. But if you want, you could also fit your own interior things in here, or just cram it with battle droids. Speaking of battle droids, time to fill this thing up. The biggest issue with this alternate build is it doesn't come with any battle droids in the Imperial Star Destroyer set, but I'm sure you have a ton of them around at this point. And here's everything filled up with battle droids and minifigures, and I want to thank my friend Anything But Yes for providing all these droids for me to borrow. And coming over to here, these sides are identical, but each of these racks can hold 8 droids each, and these racks can just gently slot into here, which is pretty snug, unless you want to flip the build upside down. But you can see there are 2 droids working at the consoles here, as well as 2 droids on that side. And the conference room doesn't hold any droids, but of course it sits 2 minifigures pretty comfortably. Finally, coming up to the bridge, you can see you can fit 2 pilot droids and a commander, which is kind of accurate to the source material. I unfortunately wasn't able to get the steering wheels for the pilot droids to hold on to, as you see here. And if you don't want a droid commander, you can also see the minifigure here. The droid would slot in with the bracket here, but you can just see the minifigure in the back if you have like a Newt Gunray or a Count Dooku or some other minifigure. It is really easy to fold these panels back up. They fit together pretty snugly. And I like how the back just hinges like this, and the front hinges up like that. And now you can take your battle droid army to go blockade a planet. That is it for this video. If you enjoy what you see here and want to try this alternate build out yourself, there is instructions on my Rubricable page, and the link is in the description below once again. And I feel like this build is a must for those trying to build up a droid or separatist army, as LEGO has only released one separatist capital ship, and that was a Malevolence back in 2012. So it's been a good 13 years, so this might be a very good alternative, considering you just need 1 copy of the Star Destroyer set. And it's also kind of crazy to think that most of the pieces here can also be turned into a Venator, so you can have both Clone Wars capital ships just from the Imperial Star Destroyer. And yeah, that is it for this video. I don't think I'll be making any more alternate builds from that set, but who knows what I'll be coming up with next. It could be another alternate build or a transformer, but I'll see you guys until then.